Hello and welcome everybody. We are delighted to have you here and very excited to have Lisa Marie Platsky with us today. This is going to be an absolute privilege. You will love what she has got for you. It's a great, informative webinar. So I'm very, very excited about this. I do want to take a moment and just give you a heads up on a couple of things very quickly. Some of you are used to being in some of our classes and everyone gets to talk. Because of our format today, we have a lot of people on the call, which means everyone will remain in the mute mode. We've got to manage the feedback that way. So what we do want to do is invite you to type questions in. So in your control panel for the webinar, you have a place where you can enter questions. We will be monitoring the question panel throughout the program today and are very much interested in taking your questions and giving them to Lisa Marie so that you'll have a chance to hear her answers on them. In addition to that, there may be times where we're asking for you to participate in a poll or even raise your hand on a question. So definitely looking forward to engaging with you during the call. I want to take a moment and tell you a little bit about Lisa Marie, and then we'll be turning it over to her and sharing her screen instead of mine. So first off, Lisa Marie left her action-packed life as a law enforcement officer to become the president of International Leadership and Training Development Company called Upside Thinking, Inc. It's an award-winning leadership and connection expert. She's a certified professional coach. And I know many of you are as well. Lisa Marie's high-energy presentations and coaching programs have been transforming organizations for over a decade. Using her 7-step leadership process, client results include increased income, finding up to 21 extra hours in each work week. She has the rare ability to touch people's hearts and turn those emotions into practical action, to rattle cages and challenge the status quo, and then provide step-by-step strategies for the audiences to follow. Business leaders turn to Lisa Marie when they're looking for breakthroughs in enthusiasm, productivity, and profitability. The author of Designing Your Destiny, Speaking of Success, and Connection, The New Currency. Lisa Marie has been featured in countless radio shows and magazines, as well as hosting her own monthly Upside Chat series featuring expert guests and a live Q&A segment. Growing up, Lisa Marie wanted to be a solid gold dancer. Today, she can be found on the stage at her annual Leadership Success Summit, and we will be putting that address out for you again. It is leadershipsuccesssummit.com. Giving solid gold advice to business owners and entrepreneurs. Lisa Marie has the good fortune of living in Coral Gables, Florida, with her loving and supportive husband, Jim. So please welcome Lisa Marie Platsky. Thank you, Lisa Marie.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy. It's a pleasure. I really an honor to be here. So I am mine now. Can you see what I see or no?
I see your computer screen, and it looks like your PowerPoint's there, and it's just ready for you to start the slideshow.
Oh, spectacular. Okay, so you can see it.
Yes, yes.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Technology is my friend. Technology is my friend.
Absolutely. Keep saying that to yourself.
I do. I say it often. So thank you. Once again, good afternoon and happy Thursday. Kathy, it's my pleasure, and welcome to everyone for 7 Steps to Leadership Success. And these powerful steps are steps that I've spent a bit of time researching, and I'm really excited to share them today. This is a format for me that is new and different and exciting. So I hope that you're all doing well, and I'm really glad you showed up today. As Kathy said, my name is Lisa Marie Platsky, and we're going to be together for the next 60 minutes. One of the things about leadership is that I know that you're all experts in your individual roles, And I've got no doubt that your performance as an individual is stellar. And I just want to say kudos to you for being a lifelong learner and showing up here. I will say for myself, it happens to fall into one of these 7 steps, but being someone that actually is interested in continuing to learn and grow is a huge, huge, huge piece of the leadership journey. So this particular webinar, the format, some of you are HR professionals, you might be an OD specialist, you could potentially be a business coach, and so when I speak, I'm going to talk about the different areas, whether you're an employee or whether you own your own business, so that you can look at leadership from both perspectives. Kathy, how's that sound?
That sounds fabulous. And
right.
I'm already getting people telling me how excited they are to hear what you have to share.
Well, I am just at the edge of my seat. I'm very excited. And there's 3 things that I promise. I really promise, that this will be an honest discussion. As Kathy mentioned, the interactive piece is important, and so we're going to have the ability for you to ask questions and also the polls, and that's going to, for you to assess, and just a fun piece of the presentation. I always consider presentations to be a bit like trade school and not graduate school, because it's so much about the opportunity to participate. And so I hope you'll join in that with me. Before I go into the objectives and really what we're going to do, I want to share just a teeny piece about my background so that you have an understanding of the leadership piece. I left my 10-year career in the federal government in 2004. Actually, what happened is my husband proposed, and we decided to live in the same state since we had never lived anywhere near each other. And I arrived in California, and I really thought about going back into the law enforcement field, and decided instead to take my passion for leadership to help others grow personally and professionally, and started to do training classes. I wrote a few books. And one of the things that I really learned on this, been making this decision on this journey, which has been a very interesting journey, is that a lot of it with leadership is starting with the end in mind. And so really being able to define success for yourself, whatever that is. And so when I say the 7 powerful steps of leadership success, really thinking about what is it? Have you defined it for yourself? What's success? What does it look like? Sometimes we think about it as promotions or making a certain amount of money, and that's really important. Today I can say through my journey, I define success as Ralph Waldo Emerson did. To know that one life, just one life, has breathed easier because of me. And this is to have succeeded. And that might sound, oh gosh, that's so grandiose or airy-fairy. But the truth is that when we define it, we're able to then live out whatever that purpose, that calling, that ability is to make a difference in the world. And so it doesn't make a difference whether or not you're that business owner or whether or not you're the HR professional and you're working in a large company or small. The bottom line is there's that stamp we place on the world. So I want to get into the objectives and move forward. Got a few objectives that are listed here, and I'm going to talk about leadership from the most basic elements of why you need it and what you can do to apply it so that it can bring you more credibility, more cash, more clients if you're on the business side, more visibility, more promotion if you're on the side of working in an organization and that's what you're looking for. And these objectives that I have listed here, I'm not going to read them. You can see them, and really, like I said, from that basic piece, going through those 7 steps, and being able, more importantly, to develop action items, because it's always what we do with the information after we receive it that's most important. So this next, piece here, this best and worst list, I have listed for you to take some time, take a moment to identify the qualities or the skills of who you think would be a best or a worst employee, as well as the best leader or the worst leader. And the reason why I put this in here in the beginning, once again, before we get into those 7 steps, has to do with understanding, once again, that piece of how we define success. We all have the capacity to be a great leader. And many times the qualities on the best list require understanding intangibles like good communication skills or vision or values. And when you have a business, this is no different. Understanding your ideal client, your ideal connections, being able to actually map it out, chart the course, build the foundation is incredibly important to being able to master those 7 areas. So I'd like for you to take a little bit of inventory here. Like I said, this is so much about your participation. And this activity is something you can do right now. It's an activity that you can do later. But really being able to say, how do I define it? When I say someone who's a great leader, what are those qualities they possess? Or someone who really is not that great leader? What is it? What is it that they do? Sometimes, it's that mirror image where when we say, okay, one person is, a great communicator and inclusive would be on the best list, but then there's that micromanager piece on the worst list that would often come up. So I mentioned, that along with this, when we examine it, we've got to really start from those basic points to say, what is it? And I do realize that some of you are incredibly seasoned. You've done your job for a long time, or maybe you've had your business for a while. And so I'm not doing this so that because I'm not aware of your how brilliant you are. Kathy and I have had conversations about that. But this is simply to say that when we look at this, it's important to have a refresher. So after you've identified that a little bit, what is leadership? What is it? You hear it all the time. You hear the term used. If you go into a bookstore or something to the Kindle, the bottom line is there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of books out there on leadership. Leadership simply defined for today, and when we're talking about these 7 steps, is the ability to influence others. Nothing more, nothing less. Leadership is about influence. Can't call yourself the leader if there are no followers.
Lisa Marie? Lisa Marie? I think we've lost you on sound.
I remember when I had my job in the federal government, in my blue uniform, shaking a little bit.
Lisa?
Yes.
Lisa Marie, excellent.
Hello, I'm back.
You are back. We're so glad that worked.
It was a snowy day.
Exactly. little bit of snow. There you go. Cool us all off. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, that's all right. Please jump on back in.
Called back in, and here I am. So I'm just going to pick right up where I left off. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay. So I was talking about this story about my boss's 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 boss. And so I'm sitting in there, and when she's talking about this, she tells me, well, you know, now that I'm giving you this promotion, that you're a leader. And I thought to myself, oh, my gosh, you know, this is it. You know, I'm a leader now, right? Somebody told me that I'm a leader. And what's so fascinating about that is, you know, when I went into the office, there was a gentleman that had worked in the government for 35 years. And truly, despite what my title said, the bottom line is that he was the leader. He was the person who had the influence. He was the person that people listened to. And so leadership is always about the ability to influence others. And when I opened my business, I quickly realized leadership was even more important than before. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is about influence, and each one of us uses our influence every day, many times a day. A smile has influence, a frown has influence, so do kind words or harsh words. And leadership surrounds us in everything we're involved in, every moment of every day. Is everybody a leader? Not necessarily, but is everyone capable of being a leader? Yes. Leaders earn the mantle of leadership because of who they are, not because of their title or their position. Leadership's a relationship, and people follow the person first and then their great big plan. Absolutely the person first. And it took me a few months to be able to be the person in that particular office that was recognized as the leader, and to get the reins back from somebody who had far more experience than I did. You can't make others follow. They have to want to follow. And so this piece of leadership qualities not being something that you're born with, I believe that they're definitely skills that you can develop. Kathy, can you move to the next slide?
The slides are on your PowerPoint. I'm happy to take this.
Oh, they are. They're on mine. Oh, okay. Oh, very good. La ha. I thought since I called in that didn't work anymore. Okay.
No, we got it.
Technology. So yeah, I put a few quotes up here because I just love. I'm a quote lover, and like I said, that one quote by Franklin Roosevelt, you know, in talking about leadership, it's a terrible thing to look over your shoulder when you're trying to lead and find no one there. I mean, you don't get to call yourself a leader then, even though you have capacity. As I mentioned, I think that it's important to do inventory, you know, I want to give you some that when we talk about the steps that we're actually looking at a much broader perspective. So I have a few questions here. And these questions are about identifying characteristics that you believe are really important to leading yourself, as well as from the side of if you're not looking at it also as just as an individual, I wanted to look at that from a business standpoint or an employee standpoint.
Lisa Marie?
The more you need leaders, the greater the impact you want to make, the greater your influence needs to be. And so influence, that ability to lead is huge. And without us taking a personal inventory, we don't really know what's working or not working. I happen to be, you know, a queen of assessments, and I take them often. I would say it's one of the biggest things that has contributed to my own personal growth and development, and oftentimes we'll overestimate, you know, where we are. So when something's not working for me, I'll often ask the question, you know, what is it that I'm doing? Is this an external, or is this something that's actually internal? And more often than not, it's me, and it's not the situation or the circumstance. And so understanding these characteristics, once again, just the ability to take a little bit of inventory here. when I was putting this webinar together, I was trying to say, okay, so what's the difference? What are also the activities that a leader does to really be able to say if you're in your business or if you're in an organization, what is it? And leaders, both are important. It's not that one is more important than the other. You know, that the act of managing or supervising is an important act. Leadership, because it's about influence, is about being able to create that vision and get people excited and be able to bring out the best in them. Some of the research, some of my favorite research is actually by two gentlemen, Jim Kozis and Barry Posner. They actually surveyed thousands of business owners, government executives, into companies and asked the question. They actually did it in the 80s, 90s, and 2000. They've done it over several decades and have written books on their research. And one of the things that they talk about is, one of the things that they ask is, what are the personal traits? And note that word personal there. Personal traits and characteristics that you actually look for and admire in a leader. What is it? What is it that you want? When you think about, leadership, if you were going to follow somebody and you were going to follow that person first before their great big plan, why would you do that? And the results were so similar because when they did this over each decade, they found that there were the same four that came up that rated more than 50%. I think that's amazing. The same four that scored over 50%. There were only four. And this is what the four were. It was honesty. And honesty, I think honesty is so interesting because this could be ethics, values, principles. You can call it whatever you want. But the bottom line is this is about trust. And if I were to ask you, why was this selected more than any other leadership characteristic, you would tell me that, people want somebody that's honest, people want somebody who's integrity in order to follow. You'd tell me all those things. And yet at the same time, if we're to say I want to improve my leadership ability, indeed follow through. Yes?
You cut out again for a second there, so if you could say the last couple of sentences over.
Sure. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. I'm now on a landline. So.
It's, it may be some of the storms that are happening off the coast for you.
Oh, we do have that. Yes, it just got really dark over so. Okay. So what I'm talking about here is that honesty is something that if we say that something's important, we have to look at, well, how do I improve that, right? And so I can say, just be more honest. But really, it's more than that. It's demonstrating you're worthy of other people's trust. It's behavioral. It's consistency between word and deed. It's keeping your promises, or if you don't keep your promise, then owning up to it and not making an excuse for it, following through on your actions. I always say, whenever I put an appointment on my calendar, I have the best intention to be there, right? And I am, committed to being there. And does something happen sometimes? Yes. And so not making an excuse, truly being honest about it. And that's a tough thing. I think it's a real tough thing. Number 2, forward-looking. Hello?
Yeah, now you're back again.
Oy, oy, oy.
So, and yeah, it's actually it's showing that we lost you on your internet connection. So, Lisa Marie, what I'm going to do is pull up your PowerPoint for you.
Okay.
If you tell me what slide you want me to show, I will show that.
Okay, sounds good. I love technology. I love technology.
Okay. So, yeah, if you would let me know where you want me to be.
On the slide it says Leadership Challenge, and it has honesty, forward-looking, inspiring, and competent.
Okay. I've got, gosh, tell me what number slide it is, Lisa Marie. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Because I see the one with the quote, and I'm actually wondering if it's a GoToWebinar issue.
Leaders aren't born, they're made. Quote. You can go there. That's good. You can go there where it says quote. That's fine.
The leaders on leadership.
No, it's after that.
Okay. So, and my apologies, everyone. So I've got the leadership characteristics.
And then it's after that. There's 3 more slides after that.
Okay. So the quotes, this one?
There's one that says, I see nothing. So.
It says leaders aren't born, they are made, and they are made just like anything else through hard work.
Yep.
By Vince Lombardi.
I just don't have the, I can't see what you're seeing. I don't know why.
Because you're offline. Got it.
I'm completely offline, so. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
We're still moving forward. So, and
Absolutely.
once again, yes, my apologies. So honesty, we talked about forward-looking. Forward-looking is that ability to look ahead, that sense of direction, charting the course. Actually, I can say that my first book, Designing Your Destiny, I wrote because that vision, outlining the values, those operating principles, I kept hearing over and over again. People couldn't tell me. I used to ask clients within 3 minutes or less, tell me who you are, what you want, and why it matters. And I would get blank looks. Or if I was, people would talk about how difficult that was. Number 3, inspiration. And now this doesn't mean you've got to be the most charismatic or energetic person, but inspiration is about really understanding why you're doing what you're doing and being able to communicate that so people want to come along. And then that last one, competence. I mean, it sounds so self-evident, and yet at the same time, competence is really all the knowledge that you acquire throughout your life. Competence is not just, being competent in one area. I can say that when I had my job, my first promotion, I was sent to an air cargo area, and my background had been, I had done narcotics interdiction and money laundering investigations and export and, all these other things, and didn't do air cargo, but it was because of the cumulative knowledge that I had. That's the reason why. So that quote, Kathy, we're going to move to the next slide. And there's a quote there that Kathy shared about leaders aren't born, they're made, and they're made like anything else through hard work. And that, that's really what all of this is about. Kathy, let's go to the next slide.
Yes, I have core qualifications up now.
That sounds great. And core qualifications, this is just, I had made this list here so that, when you're thinking about your business or when you're thinking about whether you're moving up, every organization has these core qualifications. So as we look at those 7 steps, this is about rating yourself and examining how many are technical, how many require interpersonal competence, and how many do you really possess that you would give yourself an A+ in. Kathy, we can go to the next slide.
Okay. So now it says core values, and we've got the boxes with the question mark.
Yes, yes. And that's about mission, vision, and values. And we're going to get into that when we get into the 7 steps. And, I want to make sure we have enough time to really go through those. So, I once again, I put this in here because it's foundational, foundational, foundational. And organizations identify mission statements and core qualifications or visions. It's because it's about what they're striving for. It's that knowing the who they are and not deviating from that. One of my favorite mission statements is Disney's, and Disney's is to make people happy. It's 4 letters, but their number 1 value happens to be safety, because when people are injured, that doesn't make people happy. So sometimes, being able to think about that for yourself, for your business. And I know, Kathy, you emphasize that when you teach, when you go through the certification, how important that is. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay. So we've got the arrows in the circle.
Yes, leadership development. Mm-hmm. And the process is just to say that this isn't one-time activity. It's not just now. This is continuous all throughout the year, and that's the reason why I'm going to give you some action items with those 7 steps, so that you understand that this is, not a one-time activity. So, Kathy, why don't we look at the poll? Do you have that for our first poll?
Yes, I sure do. So I am launching the poll, and what that means is everyone in the audience is now seeing it, and we are asking them the question. And everyone, please rate yourself. Choose one answer that is most appropriate for you. So we've got the question up asking you whether you're forward-thinking and et cetera. So if you would choose one of those. And Lisa Marie, we've had, let's see, I'm watching our percentage. 57% have voted, so let's give them another few seconds on choosing an answer. So everyone on the call, just click on any one of those answers that is most appropriate for you. And I'm going to close that out in just a few seconds here. We've got most of them have voted. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and close this out now on there. And then, Lisa Marie, I am going to share the results with everybody in the audience.
Excellent. And know that, this is confidential. We don't see who clicks on what, so, your answers are safe.
Yes. So in terms of the question that you have on your slide, 35% say absolutely, 29% say more than most, 35% say working on it, and I didn't have anybody that went with struggling. So that is what we've gotten. The full question. Oh, I was thinking I had it on your next slide. So, but it was straight off your slide. So.
Yes, and this is about, so that next slide actually is just says assessing your leadership strengths, and it talks about, the importance of doing those assessments. So you can go to the next one, which has that question there, do you have what it takes?
Yes, and there we go. So we asked if they were forward-thinking, effective, remarkable leader that creates results, rewards, and resilience. And so with this group, 35% absolutely, 29% more than most, 35% working on it. And we're on that slide now, Lisa Marie, so go ahead.
Fabulous. So that do you have what it takes. So this is just a brief check-in before we get into those 7 steps to leadership success. And at the end, we'll give you an opportunity also, as well as some questions in between. And one of the things with this is that, I will tell you, I'll give you an example of why I think this is so important. I remember when I did a 360 assessment on the job, and I was like, my immediate supervisor rated me very high, and I was incredibly disappointed when I got the results back from my boss's 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 boss, who happened to give me some 3s and 4s. And sometimes we think that, oh gosh, that's terrible. But really, being able to honestly assess and have this be an area where you're able to do something about it, I think is so critical to being able to grow. And in my business, sometimes the things that I focused on were the things, of course, focusing on your strengths is what we're told to do. And at the same time, being able to be stronger means we really have to understand what pieces aren't working. So I had a few questions that I wrote here. These first 2, you may have read already, the one about the plan, that I have this clearly defined plan. The one about personality, that I use the strength of my personality to grow that big vision and profitable partnerships. Kathy, we can go to the next slide.
Okay, we're there.
And then partnerships, that I build these with ease. There's a question in my Designing Your Destiny book, and one of my friends picked up the book and said, oh, I didn't like the answer to that question. And I said, okay, what are you going to do about it? And she goes, well, I turned the page. I said, no, what are you going to do about it? So, I was always makes me smile. So this piece here, this presence, operating in the present, but also, that ability to to be grateful. There's a variety of pieces in presence. Number 5, priorities, identifying the tasks and actually consistently, that being a key word there, consistently executing. We can go to the next slide. And then there's 2 more.
And we're there?
2 more. Yeah, these 2 more, progress and professional development, evaluating and measuring, not just evaluating, but also measuring my performance. How do you do that? Is that actually part of what you regularly do for yourself in the role, whether you have your own business or whether you work for someone else? And then professional development, doing exactly what you're doing here. So you all are super scorers on that. So the next slide actually goes into the 7 steps, and it says, what those 7 steps are. And as I mentioned to you, this is not something that I just randomly came up with because I thought it would be clever. This is actually something where I did interviews. I did, dozens and dozens of interviews, over 100 people that I actually had very successful businesses. I defined success very specifically. And when I had those conversations with people, the same themes kept coming up over and over again. And it was these 7 themes: plan, personality, partnership, priorities, presence, progress, and professional development. Okay, we can go to the next slide. And so I want to go into each of them and give you an action item, something that you can do, something that you can look and examine to truly, give yourself an honest assessment about it, and so that this is something where, whether it's visibility, promotion, cash, clients, credibility, whatever it is, I will say that, leadership is the game changer. So let's start with plan. Construct the written plan. Written is the key there. And the greatest pitfall in the quest for success isn't failing. It's not committing to the plan. When I was working in the federal government, I attended this leadership development class, and they talked about over 90% of all Americans. So for those of you who are not in the United States, I'm sorry I don't have that research, but at the time, that over 90% of all Americans had no direction or long-term plan for their lives. So even for people who had a business plan, they didn't necessarily have a life plan. And so writing this down, having your personal mission statement, your personal values. I was amazed last year at my Leadership Success Summit. There was a speaker who stood up and said, I have that written in my bedroom on a big whiteboard. And I thought, wow, I have mine somewhere, but, it's in my office. It's not in my bedroom. To talk about how important it was. And she's opened up, 3 divisions and now is starting a university. So once again, this was a theme that came up over and over again. And my challenge to you with this is, what do you want to accomplish? September 22nd is 100 days, so the next 100 days for the year, that magic 100 days. What do you want to accomplish by the end of this year? How about next year? Is it already written down? And I'm happy to send you, I've got these 7 power questions, which I didn't put in here that I just thought about, but incredibly important. And sometimes people say, gosh, I don't know where to start. Start with some of these questions that we've already talked about. I'm happy to send you other resources. Kathy, should we go to the next slide?
Okay, we're there.
Personality?
Yes.
Okay. Personality, yeah, a lot of people do work on the plan, and then they don't consider the personality. Everyone that I talked to, the books, the research I did, what's your unique personality style? How does it help you with that plan? How does it hinder the plan? I'd say, when I, look at my, one of the assessments that I use is the DISC assessment. And, on the DISC assessment, it talks about, how I'm not a detail person. I'm just not. And so being able to use that in my business and use that with the work that I do and manage to still get through the details and not be de-energized is incredibly important. I know that I went to a leadership academy, maybe, I don't know how many years ago, 18 years ago, and at the academy, they, turned out in one of the assessments, I found out that, I really had become this sort of negative Nancy. And by the time I left the government, my nickname was Mary Effin Sunshine. So, taking that and doing something with it. So the upside challenge here for you in this one is to ask 5 people, what's one quality you can improve on? I got to tell you, that's a tough one. Being yourself because everyone is taken is a favorite saying of mine from Oscar Wilde. And personality is critical and key. I know in the coaching certification program, Kathy talks about that when she talks about being a celebrator or being an investigator, and it's so important to pay attention to that and not put people in, treat them just simply the way that you would want to be treated. Critical to business growth, critical to sales, to marketing, and also when you're talking about promotion. Kathy, should we do a, I don't know where we are when I get through these, and I'm like, and questions, and so, should I continue on? Should we pause for a moment?
The feedback that I'm getting from everyone is they're enjoying this, and I'm going to say, yeah, let's keep you going. Can I go to number 3 for you?
Yes, please. That would be great. That'd be great.
Okay, we're there.
Okay, so partnerships, powerful partnerships, creating powerful partnerships. And this is about sharing and receiving openly. Be a sharer of information. If leadership is about influence, creating partnerships are a byproduct of an effective leadership development plan. In my book, Designing Your Destiny, I talk about the importance of identifying your UIPs. You've heard the term VIP. A UIP is somebody who's your upside impact partner, someone who's your cheerleader, your confidant, and challenges are solved more easily by 2 people working together. And at the same time, when you're in a business or the higher you go up in an organization, most people enjoy doing things for themselves and by themselves. And sometimes we're so in the thick of things that we forget that there's power in numbers. Sandra Day O'Connor had a saying, and she said, we don't accomplish anything in this world alone, nothing. I think that's so interesting. Partnerships are really critical. And this is this challenge that I give you is to make a list of those UIPs. Who are the people that you really have in your life? My list at one point was really, really, really lean. And so I had to work on building those. I had to work on doing the connection so that I had a list, period. And I think one of the big pieces with this is how are you going to give value to other people? And how am I going to get something? But what do I individually offer that brings value to other people? Kathy, we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
The next slide is about the 4 C's of trust. And so in building partnerships, you need these C's. You need the caring, the clarity, the commitment, the consistency. And a lot of times people don't want to talk about things like, forgiveness or love or caring because that doesn't sound business-like. I have to say those pieces were critical in my law enforcement career, as important in my business. Caring about the people I worked with as human beings rather than treating them as just a number, and now with clients or employees as if that they're people and not dollar signs. So incredibly important. Kathy, let's go to the next slide.
And while I'm switching, I've got a question. Can you say what UIP stands for again?
Oh, sure. Upside Impact Partner. So Upside Thinking is the name of my company, and upside does not mean positive. It talks about being upside is finding somebody who understands that, the challenges have just as many opportunities in them, just like this technology one, as the things that seem like, blessings. So that's the upside part. The impact part is that this person is somebody that has a huge impact, on you, your business, your life, your career. And partner, obviously, is somebody who actually cares enough about that to some degree they, actively go out and solicit on your behalf, or at least seek opportunities for you. If not, they're as excited about the opportunities that you get. And sometimes, we get in this space of just not sharing what we're doing or what that big mission is or where we're going. I can say that I'm guilty of that even with my, some of my closest and dearest friends, because you get busy.
Excellent. Thank you. And we are on number 4, set your priorities.
We are. Number 4, so setting your priorities. This is choosing to put your health and your family before your work. Oh my gosh, did I actually say that? And, I have health and self there. It's so easy to think that it's about something else, but we're no good to our relationships, our loved ones, people in our lives, our work, our job, if we're not taking care of ourselves. And I just can't emphasize that from somebody who after law enforcement had really stopped exercising regularly and started to see the cumulative growth of the cumulative problems, that caused. And so now growing in that area and going back to that. Now, because I'm just so, big on, this time piece for people, the exercise I'd give you is to draw a circle and identify where you spend your time. Divide it. Yourself, your relationships, and your work. You draw that circle, you divide it into 3, and then you think about the 24 hours a day you have. And you say, okay, so I sleep for X amount of hours. In my case, I really like 8 hours. My body likes 8 hours. Some of my friends, 4, 8 for me. So you got 24 hours, I subtract my 8, and I got 16 hours left. Now certainly there's eating, and there's commuting, and there's exercising, and there's all these things. But how much time is devoted to me? How much time is devoted to you? How much time is for relationship building, family, friends, relationships? How much time is actually working? And as you plug those numbers in, if you're not happy with them, what are you going to do about it? I had to make some big changes because, my work and when I started the business was way off kilter, way. It seemed like that's all I did. And I made some boundaries, set some boundaries, and made some changes. And this ties into energy management versus time management. The bottom line is no matter how beautiful, how talented we all are, we get the same 24 hours a day. And how we use that 24 hours is what differentiates a top performer and a top organization from their counterparts. Managing your energy and not your time. If you do your best work in the morning, what are you doing in the morning? If you do your best work in the afternoon, what are you doing in the afternoon? Kathy and I just talked before the call, before the webinar, about a client who loves to do email in the morning. This is like the most productive time of the day she has, and yet she's doing email. It just makes me want to scream. Or how about your body? What does it need? We're all different. We're individuals. Eating, taking breaks, walking, having water. When are you working on projects that require the best of who you are? And so that's really the challenge here, is examining whether you're managing your energy wisely and what you could do different so that you can transform your day. Okay, Kathy, enough on that. Let's move on to the next one.
We're on 5.
5, yes. 5. One of my favorites, number 5, is presence. Choice, commitment, discipline, and direction. I think this is like the magic formula. What kind of leader do you want to be? Is it about being a leader, or is it about being an achiever? Those are very different. Being a leader or being an achiever. And I have a few things down here. Physical presence. Are you physically present when you're having a conversation? How about your external physical presence? Feeling put together and good about yourself. The emotional presence. The average person says 150 negative things to themselves by 10:30 in the morning. Think about it. My hair doesn't look so good. This didn't work out. Can't do that. Unbelievable. And it takes 5 positive interactions to erase 1 negative one. So it means most people start off the day and, never manage to recover. Being kind or being right. All of this is about starting the day with gratitude. It actually rejuvenates your cells, it slows your heart rate, and it relaxes your muscles. This was an interesting piece because when I interviewed some of these incredibly successful people with these $50 million, $100 million companies, I couldn't believe, the amount of people who really talked about that. Choice, commitment, discipline, direction, and gratitude. Kathy, we can go to the next slide, and I'm actually going to have you move through them because this goes into this a little bit further about sending clear messages and how to do that. And I'm happy to pass on any of this information to people. And then active listening, which is about being present in the conversation.
Okay, so is it okay, because I do have people asking, can I send them the handout from the slides?
Sure, yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I actually have a handout for this, so I'm happy to send that to you.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll send your handout. I went past, and now I'm on one that says active listening. Do you want me to move past that as well?
Yep, you can go past that because we've talked about that a little bit and the active listening skills. So you can go past that, and so I think that's like 28 is meta-communication.
We are there.
Okay, so I'm just going to say something brief about this, and that's, oculesics are the visual. It's what you see. It's the eye contact. Proxemics, how close is too close? It's funny because in the United States, that's just so very important to understand. Haptics, the needed touch. Kinesics, body language, and really, this all goes into those percentages. And I think I have it on one of the, the next slide, actually, which says verbal and nonverbal. That 7% is verbal. 33% vocal qualities. You've heard this before, I'm sure. And 60% nonverbal. So it's so important. I mean, think about that. That means you're getting 40% of what I say in a webinar. Good grief. Since you can't see me. But I bring that up because part of the presence was that I would hear this over and over about, how important it was, their presence, and being able to be a good listener, the words that they chose, paying attention to touch. That's very interesting. So we can go to the next slide, which will talk about meta-communication, and that just simply shows what it is. And then you can go to the next one, which is modeling.
Okay.
And so all of this is really that consistency. It goes back to that piece that talked about consistency. And that ties into number 6, which is progress. And that's the next slide.
We're there.
Okay. So measuring your progress. How am I doing? Do I evaluate? Or do I write the plan once a year and that's it? Do I carry it with me? What happens? Calendaring when you evaluate. I actually do an evaluation twice a month. And sometimes I'm not really happy with what I find. Do I need to make any changes? And what I'll say is, if you're someone who's in an organization and this leadership ability or ability to influence, sometimes you're moving along, the organization's moving along, and that broad and sweeping change. It's like, oh, how am I going to make this work? And you always make it work. And when it's your company, there's a little bit more resistance. This is my idea. I came up with this. It's a good idea. And so evaluating whether this is giving you the results you want, the return on investment for your precious time, to get you to that definition that we talked about in the beginning, the success that you're looking for. If you're not measuring it on a consistent basis, examining whether you're, not just if you're walking your talk, but whether or not you're moving forward in the place that you want to be. This is also the profit measurement if you're in a business. Measure your progress, measure your profit. And for those of you who are in that business place of having your own business, this is where you look at it and say, is this a hobby or a very, very expensive hobby, or is this really a business? And do I need to make changes? And what am I going to do? Being very frank and very honest, I know in my business, in the beginning, I had a business coach. Then 2 years in the middle, I didn't have a business coach, and I was doing one of my evaluations, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "What's wrong is that you're doing this all yourself. Yeah, you got a great team of people, you got some, great employees, but hello, who are you? You meet with your board of advisors once a year, and this isn't helping you." And I have to tell you, I hired that business coach, and it's so funny because for all of the things that I've done for coaching people to help them in their business, you just can't do it yourself. So, like I say, I hired a business coach, and the numbers increased almost immediately. So I just so believe in evaluating. And so calendar when you're going to evaluate. And then the last one, the final step, seeking out opportunities for professional development like this. Leaders are readers, learners are earners. Seek out opportunities to remain on the grow and in the know. And the challenge here is, what are you going to do to invest in your success over the next 100 days, next year? I went to a conference last week. I spoke at the conference, but I also stayed and participated in every single activity, I sat in the front, and I thought it was so funny because if you didn't come to my presentation, you didn't know that I was a speaker because the badges didn't say it or anything like that. And I just loved it. I just love being around people who are smart. And one of the things I say is, geez, if you're the smartest person in your circle of friends, you need new friends. So learners are earners. Leaders are readers. What are you doing to invest in your success? And, Kathy's program, I think, is such a great program, such a, she has these calls as well as, her certification program. And no, she didn't tell me to say that, but I, I say that from my heart. So let's do a poll now. Let's do a poll and take some inventory, Kathy. How about that?
Absolutely. So I am launching a poll, and everyone in the audience, you're now looking at the poll, and we're asking you to rate yourself. So Lisa Marie has gone through 7 different things involved in leadership, and we're asking you to rate yourself based on that. So please click on one of the choices that you see there, which one is most appropriate for you. And Lisa Marie, we've got a little bit more than half have selected something at this point. We're getting up there, so I want to keep it open for just a few more seconds. Everyone, please quickly choose one option on there. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close the poll out, and now I'm going to share the results with everybody in the audience so that you can all see exactly what came out of that. So in asking this question and asking you to rate yourself, we have 25% at excellent, 56% at good, 13% at average, and 6% at needs improvement. So
okay.
So excellent, good, average, and needs improvement. And predominantly 56% at good. So.
And 56% at good. And I started to share that story about the 360 assessment and me, and I want to go back to that because I did this 360 assessment and I got these 3s and 4s, the average and the goods, right? And I was so upset about this. Like beating myself up. So much so that, I actually wrote about this also in my first book. I just really felt so strongly about this that this woman got it so wrong. And why is she sending me on all these assignments all over the country and having me be the person in charge if I'm only average, or good? So I was like, gosh darn it. I'm feeling pretty excellent. So I actually, sit down and make an appointment with her. And she says to me, Lisa, you didn't think you were perfect, did you? And I said, well, yeah, actually I did. And, chuckle, laugh. But the bottom line is I learned so much from being able to really be able to take what I what I was given from her and be able to say, okay, so now what do I do with this? So for those of you who, said that you were, good and you were average or you were needs improvement, especially, just I just say kudos and hats off to you, because you're even in a better place than I actually was, to be able to recognize and understand that and be able to say, every day is about learning and getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And to those of you who rated yourselves as excellent, that's fabulous. I always like to surround myself with people smarter than me, so hats off to you as well for implementing all of this and doing such a good job with it. But I'm really a firm believer that there's that particular assessment, when I look back at it, it had such a life-changing effect on me, because there were things that I was rated as being good, that if I look back now, I can truly say, I spent a lot of time in improving that, or what I was average at. One of them happened to be, knowing which battles to pick and choose, and knowing whether or not, once again, choosing to be kind or choosing to be right. So the last, these two slides here are, the next two slides are First Break All the Rules. And these are a series of questions that actually are in a book called First Break All the Rules. And they're great questions about what the world's greatest managers do differently. And this, once again, I just happen to love surveys and results. And so I'm happy to send these to you or send you that information. And then the next slide, Kathy, is actually the summary.
Okay.
Which just summarizes what we've talked about, and the 7 steps and the meta-communications and walking the talk. And do we want to take questions? Or are we out of time?
Of course. We're at time. Lisa Maria, let me know if you're able to hang out and answer questions. In the meantime, those of you that are here with us, we do have quite a few people still. Please feel free to type in questions in the panel, and we will pass those on to Lisa Marie. In the meantime, Lisa Marie, you've got a slide with some action steps.
I do.
Taking fast action, and I'm putting that up while we're asking for the questions. And then I have a final slide with your contact information for those who want it as well.
Well, I mentioned in the beginning, I just think action is just so important. And so making that list of things you want to take action on in the next 30 days, the next 100 days by the end of the year, I included the information on there. Save the date if you're interested. Come to my Leadership Success Summit. It's 2 days, 2 fun days where, you get to write all the things that we've done. You go through it all, but you do it over the course of 2 days and not 60 minutes. so in the sense that you actually are writing it down and putting it together, and you leave with something. And then I've got these free calls, these Upside chats, which are a lot of fun, and they're free to my Upside community, and they certainly do help you accelerate your results, because I know that I've benefited from some of the experts I brought in. And then, of course, my email address there to contact me, lisamarie@upsidethinking.com. Let me know where you are in the process, or if there's something that I can do for you. I just love leadership. I just live for it. So having conversations about leadership with other people is exciting for me. And then, as Kathy mentioned, that last slide, which is in contact information. Connect with me on Facebook. I didn't put, Twitter or LinkedIn, but I'm in all those places. Technology's my friend.
And I'm hearing you continue to affirm yourself positively in that way, so that's awesome. Gotta love that, right, everyone? So, excellent. Lisa Marie, I am getting a number of people who are typing in their thank yous. They very much appreciated the session. I have people sharing that they are looking forward to the handout. I will email that to the people who registered. So we'll get that from you and send that out to everyone. And whatever questions, I think I've kept up. And Lisa Marie, I think you've been answering questions as you've gone through. It's funny because something would come up and you'd immediately start talking about it, so it was good. as far as that goes. So lots of great feedback. Some of the comments I am getting, thanks so much. Wish I could stay longer. Thought this was very informative. I'll check out Lisa Marie's website. Oh, you got a great one here. Love, love, love. Lisa Marie, thanks for a great webinar. And then where is the summit? Lisa Marie, is your summit in California?
It is. It's in Ontario, California, which is about 50 miles east of Los Angeles. And there's an airport there, and it just happens to be that the hotels are less expensive for people traveling, and it's a nice place, free transportation to the place. So I like Ontario for that reason.
Excellent. So good.
Yeah, not Ontario, Canada. Ontario, California.
There you go. There you go. Excellent. And any other questions? If you have them, we're getting down to a smaller, manageable audience. So what I'm going to invite people to do is, if you raise your hand, I am happy to unmute you and invite you on live to ask Lisa Marie a question, or jump in that way. So you can either type in a question or raise your hand, and I will unmute you. I think, and just watching more of the comments on the thank yous, Lisa Marie, so definitely people appreciate it. And I do want to thank everyone for working with us on figuring out some of the technology that that wonderful friend of ours that presents the challenge. So,
well, the patience. I mean, you've got to. It is what it is. There's no two ways about it. Sometimes it is your best friend, and sometimes it's your friend that that's having an off day.
Extra attention. Yes, a friend that needs extra attention. So.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Good, excellent.
Exactly.
And then actually got another question on. Yes, for the Certified Professional Coach program, this does count as continuing education. So those of you who are Certified Professional Coaches and maintaining your 12 hours every 2 years, this is 1 hour. So as long as you're here live, you get that hour. So that's great.
Yay! So. Does that count for me?
I think it should count for you, Lisa Marie. What do you think?
Well, you're the person in charge of that, so.
Excellent, excellent. So, and I'm getting a yay more to celebrate on that one. So, very good.
Yay! Well, I did. I really wish that of course, the audience being able to hear from them and to ask questions live or to do that would certainly be fun. But I just felt the good energy from people, and I appreciate the fact that everyone was so understanding with our little glitches and my passing storm here. And Kathy, I can't thank you enough. I mean, really, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Great stuff. Delighted to have you here. So big thanks to you, Lisa Marie, putting that out there, and so glad to have had you here. Appreciate you sharing with us. Great information. We'll get a handout to everyone. We'll have this available on YouTube for people that want to come back and catch it again or see more. And I'm sure many of them will be reaching out to you online as well.
Some new friends. I like that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Excellent. So thank you, everyone.